Admiral Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance staring at the main screen. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he didn't notice. His eyes were fixed on the massive shapes that had appeared at the edge of the solar system just 12 hours before. The alien ships were huge. Each one was bigger than New York City. They floated in space like dark mountains, their surfaces covered in strange lights that pulsed like heartbeats. Jack had been in space for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. "Sir, we're getting another transmission," said Lieutenant Sam Baker from the communications station. His voice was tight with fear. "Put it through," Jack said. "Captain." Lisa Kane hurried onto the bridge. She was Earth's best expert on alien life, though until today, no one knew if aliens even existed. Her hands shook as she checked her translation equipment. "Admiral, I've been working on their language patterns. I think I can understand most of what they're saying now," Lisa said. The main screen flickered. An alien face appeared. It was tall and thin, with skin like gray metal, and eyes that glowed red. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding steel. I'm Imperator Zexthul of the Corvan Empire. You will listen." Jack felt his heart pound. This was really happening. First contact with aliens, and they didn't look friendly. "We have conquered 847 worlds," the alien continued. "We have destroyed species that fought us. We have enslaved those who surrendered. You are primitives. Your weapons are toys. Your ships are insects." Lisa translated quickly, though the alien spoke in broken English now. "He's saying they've conquered hundreds of planets, Admiral." The alien raised one long finger. "You have 72 of your hours to surrender completely. Remove all weapons from your ships. Ground all military forces. Prepare your leaders for transport to our vessels. If you comply, some of you will live as slaves. If you resist, we will burn your world to ash." The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. "Get me Commander Ryan Torres," Jack said. His voice was steady, but inside he felt sick. Ryan Torres appeared on a smaller screen. He was the head of Earth's intelligence services, a thin man with gray hair and sharp eyes. Behind him, Jack could see people running around with papers and computers. "Admiral, we've been analyzing their demonstration," Ryan said. 20 minutes ago, they destroyed 3 asteroid mining stations, just made them disappear. We lost 200 people. "How?" Jack asked. "We don't know. Their weapons don't work like anything we understand. The stations were there 1 second, gone the next. No explosion, no debris. Just empty space." Jack closed his eyes for a moment. 200 people gone without a trace. And these aliens could do the same to Earth's 8 billion people. "Sir," Lisa said quietly, "I've been studying their message. The language patterns suggest they've done this many times before. This is routine for them." "Has anyone ever said no?" Jack asked. Lisa shook her head. "I don't think so. The way they speak about it, they expect us to surrender." An hour later, Jack found himself in the secure conference room of the space station orbiting Earth. President Helen Brooks sat at the head of the table, her face pale but determined. Around the table sat the most powerful people on Earth. "General," Pete Sullivan, a big man with white hair, slammed his fist on the table. "We have to surrender. You all saw what they did to the mining stations. We can't fight weapons like that." "And become slaves?" asked Dr. Amy Foster. She was young for her position as head of the weapons development program, but she was brilliant. "They didn't promise to let us live. They promised some of us would survive as slaves." "Better than everyone dying," Pete said. President Brooks looked tired. She had been awake for 36 hours straight. "Dr. Foster, what do we have that could possibly work against them?" Amy hesitated. "There's Project Prometheus, but it's not ready. We've been working on exotic matter manipulation, trying to create new types of weapons, but we're years away from anything useful." "How many years?" the president asked. "At least 5, maybe 10. "We have 71 hours, Ryan said. The room fell quiet. Outside the window, Earth looked peaceful and blue. It was hard to believe that in 3 days, it might be a ball of fire. General Sullivan spoke again. Look, I've been a soldier for 30 years. I know when a fight can't be won. These aliens have technology we can't even understand. They've conquered 800 worlds. We're one planet with primitive weapons. But we're human, said Captain Steve Williams. He commanded the evacuation ships that moved people between Earth and the colonies. We've never surrendered to anything. Not to disease, not to natural disasters, not to other humans who seemed stronger. This is different, Pete said. Is it? Steve asked. Every generation of humans has faced something that seemed impossible. Our great-grandparents fought world wars. Our grandparents went to space when everyone said it couldn't be done. Our parents colonized other planets. President Brooks stood up. Everyone looked at her. In the next few minutes, she would make the most important decision in human history. Dr. Foster, she said, can your project work at all? Even partially? Amy thought for a long moment. Maybe. If we had every scientist on Earth working together, if we ignored safety protocols, if we got very lucky, what would you need? Everything. Every computer, every factory, every smart person we have. And I need people to believe it's possible, even when it looks hopeless. The president walked to the window and looked down at Earth. 7 billion people were down there, living their lives, not knowing that aliens wanted to make them slaves or kill them all. She turned back to the room. 70 years ago, my grandfather helped fight a war against people who wanted to enslave and kill millions. He told me something before he died. He said the only way evil wins is when good people decide not to fight. General Sullivan shook his head. This isn't a war between humans. These are aliens with godlike technology. Maybe, President Brooks said, but they're not gods. If they were gods, they wouldn't need 72 hours. They wouldn't need to make threats. They'd just do it. She walked back to her chair but didn't sit down. I'm going to address the world in 1 hour. I'm going to tell everyone what's happening, and then I'm going to tell them that Earth's answer to the Corvan Empire is no. You'll get everyone killed, Pete said. Maybe. But at least we'll die as free humans, not live as slaves. An hour later, President Brooks stood in front of cameras that would broadcast her words to every human settlement in the solar system. Behind her, Earth filled the screen, beautiful and blue and precious. She looked directly into the camera. My fellow humans, today we learned we are not alone in the universe. We also learned that there are those who would take our freedom from us. She paused, letting her words sink in. The Corvan Empire has given us 72 hours to surrender or be destroyed. They have conquered hundreds of worlds. They believe we will surrender like all the others. Another pause. They are wrong. The Empire demanded surrender. Earth answers with fire. Captain Steve Williams ran through the corridors of New Tokyo Station. His boots echoed on the metal floors as he passed windows showing Earth below. 60 hours left until the aliens came back. 60 hours to save as many people as possible. How many can we move? He asked into his radio. Maybe 2 million, came the reply from his second in command. That's if we use every ship, every transport, every civilian craft we can find. 2 million out of 8 billion. Steve felt sick, but he kept running. In the docking bay, hundreds of ships waited. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, even small, private yachts. Anything that could fly and carry people. A woman grabbed his arm as he passed. She was crying. Please, my children are in school in Brazil. Can you get them? We're trying to get everyone we can, Steve said. He hated how empty the words sounded. Meanwhile, deep underground in Colorado, Lieutenant Colonel Nancy Price stood in a room full of maps and computers. Around her, soldiers and civilians worked together to plan something no one had ever done before. They were going to hide entire cities underground. The subway tunnels in New York can hold 50,000 people, said a man with a thick New York accent. We've got food stored down there for maybe 2 weeks. What about water? Nancy asked. The old aqueduct system still works. We can seal it off if needed. Nancy looked at the map of North America. Red dots showed where they were building hidden shelters. Blue lines showed the tunnel systems that would connect them. In just 60 hours, they had to create a shadow world beneath the surface. "Ma'am," said a young soldier, "what if the aliens can see underground?" Nancy didn't answer right away. No one knew what the aliens could do. But hiding was better than standing in the open when the shooting started. 3 floors below Nancy, Dr. Amy Foster stared at equations that covered an entire wall. Her team of scientists had been working for 50 hours straight. Coffee cups and food containers covered every surface. Some people were sleeping on the floor. "The exotic matter is stable, but only for 30 seconds, said Dr. Kevin Chang. He was young, maybe 25, with messy black hair and thick glasses. After that, it breaks down and becomes useless. 30 seconds isn't enough time to build a weapon, Amy said. Kevin looked at his computer screen. Numbers scrolled past too fast for normal people to read. Wait. Look at this. When I ran the AD test near the communications array, something strange happened. What kind of strange? The exotic matter lasted longer, almost 2 minutes, and the communications got clearer, not worse. Amy walked over to look at Kevin's data. That doesn't make sense. Exotic matter should interfere with electronics. Unless... Kevin's eyes went wide. Amy, what if it's not the matter that's special? What if it's us? What do you mean? Kevin pulled up another screen. Every time we run tests with humans nearby, the exotic matter stays stable longer, but when we run automated tests with no people around, it breaks down fast. Amy felt her heart start beating faster. Are you saying human consciousness affects the matter? I think so. And if that's true, maybe it affects alien technology too. Above ground, Admiral Jack Morrison walked through the shipyard, where humanity's entire space fleet was being rebuilt. Workers moved like ants, installing new weapons and armor on ships that had been built for exploration, not war. Commander Beth Taylor met him at the main construction bay. She was covered in grease and looked like she hadn't slept in days. Admiral, we've got good news and bad news. Give me the bad news first. Our biggest ship has maybe 1/10 the firepower of their smallest ship. If this was a fair fight, we'd lose in about 30 seconds. Jack nodded. He'd expected that. And the good news? Beth smiled for the first time in days. It's not going to be a fair fight. My reconnaissance teams got close to their ships while they were distracted. We planted sensors on their hulls. How close did you get? Close enough to touch them. Their security is terrible, Admiral. They act like no one would ever dare attack them. Jack looked at the data Beth handed him. The alien ships were massive and powerful, but they moved in perfect formations. Their patrol patterns never changed. Their communications followed exact schedules. They're predictable, Jack said. Very predictable. Like they've never had to worry about anyone fighting back. In the civilian sector of the orbital station, Captain Tony Mitchell trained ordinary people to fight. Teachers, doctors, farmers, shop owners. People who had never held weapons were learning to use rifles and explosives. The aliens are bigger than us and stronger than us, Tony told a group of 50 civilians. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you're fighting for your home, and they're just following orders. A woman raised her hand. She was maybe 60 years old with gray hair. My grandson is only 8. If these aliens come to our city, what chance does he have? Tony looked at her honestly. Ma'am, I won't lie to you. This is going to be the hardest thing humans have ever done. But your grandson has something the aliens don't understand. What's that? He's human. And humans don't give up. Major Kate Lewis worked in the next room, organizing the protection of Earth's children and culture. If humanity lost this war, she wanted something to survive. Something to remember what humans had been like. We're copying everything, she told her team. Art, music, books, movies, scientific data. Everything that makes us human. We're putting copies in hidden places all over the solar system. What if we win? Asked one of her assistants. Kate looked out the window at Earth. Then our children will know what their parents were willing to die for. 58 hours after President Brooks's speech, the first test of humanity's desperate plan began. The Laos. Aliens had sent a small attack force to Luna Base, probably to scare Earth into surrendering early. Admiral Morrison watched from the command center as 12 alien ships approached the moon. They moved slowly, confidently, like sharks swimming toward wounded fish. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," he said into his radio. "Remember, we're not trying to win this fight. We're trying to learn how they fight." The human ships around Luna Base were small and fast, fighters and patrol boats, nothing that could seriously hurt the alien vessels. But they weren't meant to hurt them. They were meant to make the aliens show their true strength. The battle lasted only minutes. Human ships darted in and out, firing everything they had at the alien hulls. The alien weapons responded, turning 2 human fighters into clouds of glowing gas. But something interesting happened. "Admiral," said Beth Taylor from her reconnaissance ship, "look at the sensor data." When our ships got close to them, their shields flickered. Jack studied the readings. Why would shields flicker? In the underground laboratory, Kevin Chang was watching the same data. His exotic matter experiments were running during the battle, and something incredible was happening. "Amy, you need to see this," he called out. Amy ran over to Kevin's station. On the screen, the exotic matter was glowing brighter than ever before, and it was staying stable. "The battle," Kevin said excitedly. "The emotions of the human pilots, their determination, their fear, their courage. It's all affecting the matter. It's like human consciousness is a type of energy." Amy stared at the data. An impossible idea was forming in her mind. "Kevin, what? If we could broadcast human emotions, what if we could weaponize how we feel?" Above them, the first small battle was ending. The aliens had destroyed Luna Base and 4 human ships, but they had also revealed something crucial. Their technology wasn't perfect. It could be disrupted. Admiral Morrison looked at the reports coming in from all over the solar system. Millions of people were being moved to safety. Underground cities were being sealed. Weapons were being built with theories no one understood. In 56 hours, the aliens would return, and humanity would be ready to show them something they had never seen before. Something they had never faced in 847. Conquered worlds. They would face humans who refused to surrender. The 72 hours were over. Imperator Zexthul stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking at the small blue planet that had dared to refuse his offer. In 800 years of conquest, no species had ever said no to the Corvan Empire. "Begin the attack," he commanded. His voice echoed through the communication system to all 12 dreadnoughts. "Make it quick. Other worlds are watching." But as the Corvan fleet moved toward Earth, they found something unexpected. The human ships weren't where the scouts had reported them. Instead of hiding behind their planet like frightened animals, the humans had spread throughout the solar system. Commander Ryan Torres smiled as he watched the alien ships from his hidden command post in the asteroid belt. For 60 hours, his people had been feeding false information to Corvan scouts. The aliens thought Earth had only 50 warships. They were about to discover the real number was closer to 500. "All units, this is Torres," he said into his radio. "The trap is set. Begin Phase 1. Captain Steve Williams led the first wave of human fighters. His ship, the UES Lightning, was small and fast. Behind him flew 30 more fighters, all equipped with Dr. Foster's experimental quantum torpedoes. "Remember," Steve said to his pilots, "these weapons are untested. We don't know if they'll work, but we know the aliens don't expect them." The human fighters came out of the asteroid field like angry wasps. The Corvan ships turned to face them, their massive weapons charging up. But something went wrong. The first quantum torpedo hit the alien shields and something incredible happened. Instead of bouncing off like normal weapons, the torpedo seemed to eat through the shield like acid through paper. The explosion that followed lit up space for millions of miles. "Direct hit," shouted Steve. "The shield is down." More torpedoes followed. Each one carried something the aliens had never faced before. Human consciousness, somehow locked into quantum energy. The rage and determination of Earth's pilots turned into a weapon. On the Corvan flagship, alarms were screaming. Imperator Zexthul stared at his displays in shock. One of his dreadnoughts was gone. Simply gone. Destroyed by tiny human ships that should have been crushed like insects. "How is this possible?" he demanded. His science officer, a thin creature, with 4 arms, worked frantically at his controls. The human weapons are using some form of consciousness-based energy manipulation. We have never encountered this before. Consciousness cannot be weaponized, Zexthul said. Apparently it can, my lord. On Earth, Major Nancy Price activated the resistance networks she had built. All over the planet, hidden groups of humans emerged from underground shelters and began their own war. In New York, teachers and shop owners used the subway tunnels to move unseen through the city. They planted explosives under alien landing sites and disappeared before the invaders knew what hit them. In London, a group of retired soldiers used the old World War II bunkers to coordinate attacks on alien supply drops. They moved like ghosts through streets the aliens thought they controlled. In Tokyo, students used their knowledge of the city's complex layout to lead alien patrols into traps. The invaders found themselves lost in a maze of streets and buildings, while humans attacked from every direction. The Corvan ground forces had conquered hundreds of worlds, but they had never faced anything like this. Other species fought with organized armies that could be defeated in big battles. Humans fought like every person was their own army. Admiral Jack Morrison coordinated the space battle from his command ship hidden behind Jupiter's moons. The first attack had worked better than anyone hoped, but now the aliens were adapting. They're changing their formation, reported Commander Beth Taylor, spreading out so we can't hit multiple ships with one attack. Good, Jack said. That means they're scared. Scared enemies make mistakes. He was right. As the Corvan ships spread out, they lost the protective coverage they gave each other. Human fighters began picking off the smaller escort ships one by one. But the aliens weren't helpless. Their main weapons could destroy human ships with a single shot. For every alien ship that fell, 3 human vessels were turned into burning wreckage. Captain Tony Mitchell watched the space battle from Earth's surface while coordinating ground defenses. His civilian fighters were holding positions around major cities waiting for the main alien assault. "Sir," said one of his radio operators, "we're getting reports from all over the planet. The aliens are landing everywhere at once." Tony nodded. This was what they had expected. The aliens would try to take the whole planet in one massive attack. But that also meant spreading their forces thin. "Tell everyone to remember their training," Tony said. "Hit hard, hit fast, and disappear. Make them afraid to walk down any street." In her underground laboratory, Dr. Amy Foster was making her greatest discovery yet. The quantum consciousness effect was getting stronger as more humans joined the fight. "Kevin, look at this," she called to Dr. Cheng. "The exotic matter is staying stable for over 10 minutes now, and the energy output is increasing." Kevin studied the readings. "It's like the emotions are feeding back on themselves. The more humans fight, the stronger the effect gets." "What if we could amplify it?" Amy asked. "What if we could make every human on Earth contribute to the effect, even if they're not fighting?" They worked frantically while the battle raged above them. If their theory was right, they could turn humanity's strongest emotion into their most powerful weapon. Captain, Lisa Kane had been monitoring alien communications since the battle began. What she heard made her heart race with hope. "Admiral Morrison," she reported, "the aliens are calling for reinforcements. They're telling their empire that humans are more dangerous than expected." "How long until those reinforcements arrive?" Jack asked. "At least 6 months, maybe more." "But sir, there's something else. Other worlds in their empire are hearing these messages. Some of them are asking questions about why the Corvan Empire needs help conquering one small planet." For the first time since this began, Jack allowed himself to smile. The aliens had made a mistake. They had let the galaxy know that humans could fight back. And in a galaxy full of conquered peoples, that was a dangerous thing to admit. The battle for Earth's orbit continued through the night. Human ships darted in and out of combat, using hit-and-run tactics that confused the alien fleet. On the ground, resistance fighters turned every city into a fortress. By dawn, the impossible had happened. The mighty Corvan Empire, conqueror of 800 worlds, was losing a battle to a single planet of humans who refused to surrender. But this was only the beginning. The aliens still had enormous advantages in technology and numbers, The real test would come when they stopped underestimating humanity and began fighting with everything they had. Major Kate Lewis watched the sunrise from her bunker, knowing that somewhere above, human pilots were dying to buy Earth another day of freedom. She had spent the night making sure that whatever happened, humanity's story would survive. If we lose, she told her assistant, someone needs to know that we tried. Someone needs to know that when the Empire demanded surrender, Earth answered with fire. The fire was burning brighter than anyone had imagined possible. Imperator Zexthul stared at the battle reports with growing horror. 3 weeks had passed since the humans first attacked, and his mighty fleet was losing ships every day. This was impossible. No species had ever fought the Corvan Empire for more than a few hours. Send a message to the Galactic Core, he ordered his communications officer. Tell them we need reinforcements immediately. His science commander approached nervously. My lord, we have been studying the human fighting methods. They do not follow any logical pattern. Each ship acts independently. Each ground unit makes its own decisions. Our battle computers cannot predict what they will do next. Zexthul slammed his fist on his command chair. They are primitives. How can primitives confuse our computers? Because they do not think like us, my lord. They do not follow rules. They change tactics constantly. Sometimes they retreat when they should attack. Sometimes they attack when they should retreat. It makes no sense. On Earth, Captain Tony Mitchell was proving exactly what the alien commander meant. His civilian fighters had turned every major city into a nightmare for the invading forces. In Chicago, a group of factory workers had learned to make explosives from household chemicals. They left them in places where alien patrols would find them, then watched from hiding as entire squads disappeared in bright flashes. In Los Angeles, movie stunt performers used their skills to set elaborate traps. They would lead alien soldiers through complex chases that ended with the invaders falling into pits, walking into tripwires, or getting lost in sewers that had been turned into mazes. The aliens had expected organized armies they could crush in big battles. Instead, they found millions of small battles fought by people who knew every street, every building, every hiding place in their neighborhoods. They're getting frustrated, Tony reported to Admiral Morrison. Their soldiers are starting to make mistakes. They're angry and scared, and that makes them sloppy. Morrison smiled grimly. Good. Angry enemies do stupid things. In space, Commander Beth Taylor was making the aliens even more angry. Her stealth teams had been hitting Corvan supply lines for 2 weeks, and the effects were starting to show. Their ships need a special fuel that they bring from other star systems, she reported. We've been destroying their fuel carriers before. They can reach the main fleet. 3 of their biggest ships are now running on emergency power. The aliens had never needed to protect their supply lines before. No conquered species had ever been able to strike behind enemy lines. Their entire military system was built around the idea that enemies would fight them face to face. Beth's teams proved how wrong that idea was. Using small, fast ships, they hit fuel convoys, communications relays, and repair stations throughout the solar system. The Corvan fleet found itself fighting blind and running out of supplies. Dr. Kevin Chang made his most important discovery in a laboratory deep under the Rocky Mountains. He had been working around the clock to understand why human consciousness affected alien technology. Amy, I think I know why our quantum weapons work, he told Dr. Foster excitedly. The aliens use technology that depends on ordered thought, patterns. Everything they build follows exact mathematical rules. And human consciousness doesn't follow rules, Amy said, understanding immediately. Exactly. Human thoughts are chaotic, creative, emotional. When we focus that chaos through quantum fields, it creates interference patterns that their technology can't handle. Amy looked at the data Kevin was showing her. What if we could make the effects stronger? What if we could get more humans involved? They had been thinking too small. The quantum consciousness effect wasn't limited to people actually fighting. Any human who felt strongly about the battle could contribute to it. We need to broadcast to the whole planet, Kevin said. Get everyone focused on the same emotions at the same time. Major Kate Lewis had been preparing for exactly this moment. Over the past 3 weeks, she had built a global communications network that could reach every human settlement in the solar system. We'll use everything, she told her team. Radio, television, internet, even emergency broadcast systems. Every human needs to hear this message at the same time. Captain Lisa. Kane had been working on something even more important. She had been talking to other species throughout the Corvan Empire, sharing the quantum consciousness technology that made human-style warfare possible. "Admiral, you need to hear this," she told Morrison over the secure channel. "I've been in contact with resistance groups on 12 different worlds. They want to know how we're fighting back." Morrison felt his heart race. "Are you saying other species are rebelling?" "Not yet, but they're thinking about it. For the first time in their history, the Corvan Empire looks weak. Other conquered peoples are starting to ask questions. The breakthrough came when Dr. Foster figured out how to amplify human emotions across interstellar distances. Using a network of quantum transmitters, she could broadcast human consciousness to other star systems. If we can share our emotions with other species, we can teach them to disrupt Corvan technology the same way we do," she explained to Admiral Morrison. "What do you need?" Morrison asked. "Every human in the solar system all focused on the same feeling at the same time. Love, anger, hope, determination. It doesn't matter what emotion, as long as it's strong and everyone shares it." Morrison understood. This wasn't just about winning the battle for Earth anymore. This was about starting a revolution that could free the entire galaxy. The plan came together quickly. Major Lewis would broadcast a message to every human alive. Dr. Foster would capture their collective emotional response and amplify it through quantum fields. Captain Kane would transmit that amplified consciousness to resistance groups throughout the Empire. On the day of the broadcast, 8 billion humans stopped what they were doing and listened to the same message. It was simple and powerful. "This is Earth calling all free peoples of the galaxy. We are human beings and we refuse to surrender our freedom. To every conquered world, every enslaved species, every person who dreams of liberty, we say this: resistance is possible. Freedom is worth fighting for. You are not alone." The effect was immediate and incredible. The quantum consciousness wave that erupted from Earth was unlike anything the universe had ever seen. It raced across space at faster than light speeds, carrying with it the concentrated determination of an entire species. On Corvan ships throughout the galaxy, technology began failing. Weapons systems shut down. Navigation computers crashed. Communication networks went silent. For the first time in their history, the mighty Corvan Empire was helpless. And on worlds that had been conquered for hundreds of years, enslaved peoples looked up at their alien masters and realized something wonderful. The masters were afraid. Imperator Zexathul watched his empire begin to crumble from his flagship above Earth. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Rebellions were starting on dozens of worlds. Corvan fleets were losing battles they should have won easily. "How many ships have we lost?" he asked his remaining staff. 40% of the fleet, my lord, and the rebellions are spreading faster than we can stop them." Zexthul realized with growing terror that he had made the worst mistake in Corvan history. By attacking Earth, he had awakened something that could destroy his entire civilization. The humans had done more than refuse to surrender. They had shown the galaxy that freedom was contagious, and no empire could stop an idea whose time had come. Admiral Morrison received the reports from across the galaxy with amazement. Humanity's fire had spread to the stars, and the universe would never be the same again. The Corvan Empire was falling apart. From his command ship above Earth, Imperator Zexthul watched reports flood in from across the galaxy. 43 worlds had declared independence. 17 Corvan fleets had been destroyed by rebels using human-style tactics. The impossible was happening. "My lord," his science commander said with fear in his voice, "we are receiving orders from the Galactic Corps. The High Council demands that Earth be destroyed immediately as an example to other rebels." Zexthul nodded slowly. He had failed to conquer these humans, but he could still kill them. "Prepare the planet-killer weapons. We will turn their world into dust." But even as he gave the order, Zexthul knew it was too late. The damage was done. The humans had shown the galaxy that the Corvan Empire could be defeated. Destroying Earth now would only make them martyrs. On Earth, President Helen Brooks stood in the Emergency Command Center buried deep under Washington. Reports from around the world showed the same thing everywhere. Corvan forces were retreating to their ships, preparing for something big. They're going to try to destroy the planet, Admiral Morrison told her over the communications link. Our sensors show their ships charging weapons we've never seen before. President Brooks felt a cold chill. They had fought so hard, sacrificed so much, but it might not be enough to save Earth itself. How long do we have? She asked. Maybe 6 hours before they can fire. Commander Ryan Torres spoke from his hidden base in the asteroid belt. Ma'am, we have ships standing by to evacuate as many people as possible. Captain Williams has every transport ready. How many can we save? Brooks asked. Maybe 10 million. 20 million if we're lucky. 10 million out of 8 billion. Brooks closed her eyes and thought about the billions of people who would die. Children playing in parks, families having dinner, old people feeding birds, all gone because humanity had dared to say no to slavery. But then Dr. Amy Foster spoke up from her laboratory. Madam President, there might be another way. What do you mean? Kevin and I have been working on something. The quantum consciousness effect we discovered isn't just a weapon. It's a way to connect human minds across any distance. What if we could use it to spread human consciousness throughout the galaxy permanently? Dr. Kevin Chang joined the conversation. If we amplify the effect enough, we could plant the idea of freedom in every thinking mind in the galaxy, not just the current generation but all future generations too. The Corvan Empire would never be able to enslave anyone again. What would it take? Brooks asked. Amy's voice was quiet. Everything. Every human consciousness focused at the same moment. Every person on Earth in the colonies, on the space stations. All 8 billion of us putting everything we are into one final broadcast. The president understood immediately. You're talking about killing everyone on Earth to save the galaxy. Not killing, Kevin said, transforming. Our bodies would die, but our consciousness would become part of the quantum field. We would become an eternal beacon of freedom that could never be extinguished. President Brooks looked around the command center at the people who had fought so hard to save humanity. They were all listening, understanding what was being asked of them. I need to address the world, she said. An hour later, every human in the solar system heard President Brooks' voice. Her words were broadcast to Earth, to the moon colonies, to the mining stations around Jupiter, to the research bases on Mars. My fellow humans, she began. We have fought the greatest battle in our species' history. We have shown the galaxy that freedom cannot be conquered. But now we face a choice that will determine the fate of every thinking being in the universe. She explained the situation simply. The aliens were going to destroy Earth. Humanity could run and hide, saving a few million people. Or they could make the ultimate sacrifice to ensure that no species would ever be enslaved again. If we choose this path, our bodies will die. But our consciousness, our love of freedom, our refusal to surrender, will live forever in the quantum field. We will become the eternal guardians of liberty for every world, every species, every generation yet to come. She paused, letting her words sink in. I will not order anyone to make this choice. Each person must decide for themselves. But know this. If enough of us choose sacrifice, we will not just save the galaxy. We will change it forever. The response was immediate and overwhelming. From Earth to the farthest human outpost, the answer was the same. Yes, humanity would make the ultimate sacrifice for freedom. Captain Steve Williams brought his evacuation fleet back to Earth. Major Kate Lewis opened the sealed bunkers and brought everyone to the surface. Captain Tony Mitchell gathered his civilian fighters in the city squares. They would face the end together, as one species united in purpose. Dr. Foster and Dr. Chang worked frantically to prepare the quantum consciousness amplifiers. They had one chance to get this right. The timing had to be perfect. Admiral Morrison watched from space as the Corvan planet killer weapons charged to full power. All human ships return to Earth. If we're doing this, we do it together. The human fleet, battered from weeks of fighting, came home. Every ship, every fighter, every transport. They formed a protective circle around their world, not to fight, but to die alongside their people. In the final hour, something beautiful happened. Across Earth, humans gathered together. Families held hands. Strangers hugged. Enemies forgave each other. Children sang songs while adults told stories of human history and human dreams. At exactly noon, Greenwich time, 8 billion humans focused, their consciousness on a single thought: freedom for all. The quantum effect that erupted from Earth was beyond anything the universe had ever seen. It raced across space at impossible speeds, carrying with it the concentrated love, hope, courage, and determination of an entire species. On every world where thinking beings lived, they suddenly understood something that had been hidden from them for millennia. They were not property. They were not slaves. They were free, and they had always been free. They simply had to choose to claim that freedom. The Corvan Empire crumbled in a single day. Across the galaxy, enslaved peoples rose up with tactics they somehow knew instinctively. They fought with creativity, with chaos, with the unbreakable, human spirit that had been planted in their quantum consciousness. The planet-killer weapons fired, but they were too late. Earth burned and died, but humanity's gift to the universe was already spreading to every corner of the galaxy. 6 months later, the Corvan Empire was gone. In its place stood hundreds of free worlds, each governed by beings who understood that true strength came not from conquest, but from the choice to be free. On a small planet in the outer rim, children of a dozen different species played together in a garden. Above them, carved in stone, were words in the ancient human language. The Empire demanded surrender. Earth answered with fire. The fire still burned in every free heart in the galaxy. It would burn forever, because some gifts are too powerful to ever die. Humanity was gone, but they had won the greatest victory in the history of the universe. They had given an entire galaxy the most dangerous and beautiful idea ever conceived: that freedom is the birthright of every thinking being, and no power in the universe can take it away from those brave enough to claim it.